What you hear in the background here is wood. Me moving wood around with a flush cut saw. I plan on making a video of my process of cutting up wood to stick it in the fireplace and try to fully explain that this is the new and improved version. This is much easier than it used to be. Now, if you practice anything, it's going to get easier, of course, over time. But and often with ease comes speed, right? You make things a little bit easier, and it also makes things a little bit faster. Sometimes that's not really the case. Sometimes it just makes things more enjoyable. You take things like, the Amish, a lot of the times they still churn their own butter, despite the fact that they can use technology, so long as that they don't actually own it. Something like that. Not too familiar with their cultures and customs. But in ye olden times, whenever it came to butter churning, it's a very specific process that you can't really speed it up. You can't just like sprint it. Just beat the hell out of the butter and then hope that it's going to work like that. I'm not sure whether or not anybody's actually tried to take some, I don't know, clotted milk or whatever and throw it into a paint shaker. But the powers that be are insistent that that sort of thing don't actually work. Like, there's a reason why butter churning is the way it is. So sometimes whenever you get, better at something, and it does get easier, sometimes it doesn't actually speed up. Sometimes it just becomes more enjoyable. So way back in the day, in the olden times and different cultures, the powers that be would get together and they would churn butter, and they would talk to each other. Semi-common, the modern times, time and again, when it comes to performing a repetitive task, or even our jobs that we actually get paid money for, and not just like side gigs and such like that, or chores that we have to do no matter what. In the modern times, we do things. We watch shows, have something playing in the background, and we listen to audiobooks. Now, of course, audiobooks weren't a thing way back when, but during the earlier industrial revolution, believe it or not, they had lecterns and lecturers, something like that. There we go. Now the damn thing is full of wood. I could probably squeeze in like one or two more pieces, but it's full of wood. 331. And I have a thermometer around here someplace. Kitchen thermometer. Okay. Kitchen thermometer says that about 2 arms length away from the wood stove, it's about 56 degrees, give or take, Fahrenheit. 58. It's going all over the place. I said off. Push that button and it turns on. Now what? Off. Off, damn you. Do I have to hold it? I have to press it if I want to turn it on. Hold it if I turn it off? Well, I guess I do. Alright. Well, that worked. Okay, whatever. So, the audiobook thing really isn't that new. Not really. Somebody like the lecturer, whatever, they would sit there and they'd read books to you. I consider stuff like that fascinating. Look at that. One piece of wood got away. Let's see if we can't find it a spot. It's gonna be like Tupperware containers, you know. Open up the drawer, throw in the Tupperware, slam the drawer real quick. Now it's somebody else's problem when it comes bursting out and attacking them. And they open up the kitchen cabinet like it's a damn chest burster alien. Face hugger. Whatever. Anyway. So, we'll see how long that burns. And then once I can no longer hear it and everything, I'll check it. And I'll see exactly how long it takes to return to room temperature after everything else is said and done. Late. Like I said, it's 3:30 a.m. I shouldn't be up this late. Normally it'd be fine. So now I'm in the kitchen. I got somebody running after me. I'm being hunted. There we go. There you go. There you go. There you go, Ari. Watching my middle aunt's 2 cats. So, it's about that time. I gotta go to the kitchen to put up the sausage from breakfast. And while I'm in the kitchen, I might as well feed her to make sure she's got water. Make sure her water ain't frozen, so she can actually drink her water. It's not. I poked a finger in there. She's the younger of my middle aunt's 2 cats. She's absolutely adorable. Very fluffy. Very soft. She's a little purr monster. She's an absolute little purr monster. Aren't you, Ari? Oh, can you hear her? Oh, look at that. Anyway, now I gotta get my second and final meal of the day. Salad and a half dozen eggs. Okay, celery in here. I got a salad on discount. It's marked down, so I gotta eat it first. So where am I hiding that bad boy? Right here. Reduce. Now I think... What's going on, Ari? You running? What are you running for? She ran last night. I think it was because she knew I found her rat. She killed a rat. And she hadn't... I haven't expressed to her that killing a rat is a good thing. It's you know, they're pests, damn it. It's not just the whole bubonic plague thing way back when. It's still a current thing. And the current thing is that I'm living on land owned by my grandfather. My grandfather owns a farm. The farm, for every pest that's out there on the farm, it's, you know, it grabs something, and then suddenly, you know, that's money that my grandpa could have gotten, and then now he can't get it because it's been ate by the damn pest. So at the end of the day, you know, whenever one of the cats eats a rat or a bird or something like that. One of these days, maybe they'll take down a deer too. When one of the cats does that, they're paying rent. Grandpa's letting me live out here rent free, so they're doing more than I do. All they do is wash the things and then go get plasma so that I can buy them the expensive food that they like. Blue Buffalo, Blue Wilderness, that's it. Right? Yeah, I think so. Blue Wilderness. They only like the chicken flavor. They won't eat the salmon flavor. I don't know why. It's a hell of a lot more expensive than anything else. I used to have this other cat. I used to have 2 cats myself. One, I had this cat from... So, like, you know, I got out of the military. I left active duty in 2011. Came home. And my mom, she kept saying over and over again that she was going to give me this house, give me this house, give me this house. And so she just kept swearing it over and over and over again. I'm like, okay, cool, I'll take a house. Like, what's, you know, it's stupid. I don't know what the hell's going on with the house. Drinking water, sorry. So she swears up and down like that she's gonna just hand me a house. And what do you do? What do you say no to a free house? But the thing is, like, the answer sometimes is yes. I didn't find this out until years and years later. You remember whenever Oprah had that damn thing where she was like, you get a car, you get a car, you get a car. Remember all that? Yeah, there's like a goodly portion of them people that didn't get a car. So you're thinking to yourself, okay, so there's a goodly portion of these people that didn't get a car. Obviously, that means that Oprah was the bad guy. She was the one that was lying. They wanted a car, and Oprah said, here's a car, and they didn't get a car. Incorrect. Oprah gave them a car. That part was not a lie. Not at all. It's just that in between being given a car and receiving a car, there's a lot of paperwork. So if you really want to dig into this, there is a YouTube video that was done by, I want to say Danny Gonzalez. I'm pretty sure it was Danny Gonzalez. So Danny Gonzalez, he did this YouTube video about pretty much a similar topic for a similar person that won a car but couldn't pay for all the taxes, because whenever you win a car or whenever you're being given a car, it's a gift, and so you have gift tax. And if you're being handed like an $80,000 car, then I don't know what the hell gift tax is, but even if it was 1%, that's $800. You have $800 in your pocket right now. A lot of times that's the thing. Is like, if Oprah's giving you a car and she's filming in New York or something like that, then easily, you know, just having a car parked can, you know, be like $100 a day just to park the stupid car. So, sure, the the people on Oprah's show that were given a car by Oprah, if it's an $80,000 brand new car, if the gift tax is only 1%, sure, it's only $800. But if you don't have $800 in your bank account right now, then what? What do you go home, sell some stuff real quick, try to buy that car by the next day? These people, you know, it's not like they live like down the road most of the time. they like travel. They had like plane tickets and everything to get to the show. So they get to the show and everything, and they're given a car, and now they have to go home. They have to like fly back home, and now they need another plane ticket to fly all the way back. Again, you want to dig into this topic, really get a deep dive on it, and see and interact in a way with somebody who was given a car, and all the things that can go wrong with that. Go ahead and watch Danny Gonzalez's video, but I didn't know. Danny Gonzalez hadn't made that video yet in 2011, and I had no idea about his channel. He's also a young man. He was probably like 12 years old back then. I don't know. So I didn't know anything. I thought a gift was a gift. So like, my grandfather himself, he's like, I don't know, 78, something like that, somewhere in that neighborhood. And that sounds insane. Already. Those who own a farm, farmers, they are entrepreneurs. You can be a farmer and work for like Tyson or something like that, but you're probably not like a farmer. You're probably have a job title like, I don't know, a grain engineering inspector. I don't know. I've never looked at the job listings for them, but like you're part of the process and everything. Farmers, they own the process. So that's the way the cookie crumbles for them. And apparently, I was looking into this. There was like a Swords to Plowshares program. It was a thingamajig to offer veterans money to try to become farmers, because apparently the average age of farmers is retirement age. That's the average age of farmers. It takes a lot, I went and I've done the research. I talked to the powers that be themselves down there at like FSA, something like that, Food Safety Agency, Food Services A organization, Food Santa Claus Andrew. I don't know. So I went up there. I talked to them, and they're like, "Okay, well, here's the deal." He said, and like in old times, sure, it might have been different in your grandfather's day and age, but for somebody who's not being like bequeathed a farm, we can give you a farm loan, but only if you have 3 years of experience. And he says it goes like this. It's not just like the farmhand. It's not like I grew up on a farm. It's not I'm the grandchild of, a farmer like I am. You just say, oh, I got 3 years experience. I've been at the farm for at least that long, right? No, it's nothing like that. You have to officially, because it's different. The being a child of a farmer and running a farm is very much different. You can, be a child of a farmer and head out there and, just grow up playing, I don't know, EverQuest or something. Man, I'm really dating myself, talking about EverQuest. My goodness, I am 37 years young, ladies and gentlemen. So spry and beautiful. I just have these ancient references. I grew up with a television that had rabbit ears, rabbit ear antenna. We got local channels that came over the radio waves, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how television worked back then. Anyway, now I've got to inspect it, especially since this salad was on clearance, was on discount. So I got to inspect each individual leaf, because it's like a mixed blend. I was so happy. I was so excited whenever I found out that, like, I found, like, I'll give you the secret right here, right now. Okay, Kroger Foods, Ruler Foods. That's where I go. Ruler Foods, Kroger company. I used to like buy the individual vegetables washed them off, and then chopped them up myself. And I was so insanely happy whenever Ruler Foods had the pre-chopped, pre-mixed salads for cheaper than buying them yourself. And so I was so happy. I was so excited about that. Then came the process, because a pre-chopped, pre-mixed salad has every little leaf. They all decay at different rates, and I'm terrified of getting sick again. Get sick on a farm, it's a problem. So whenever I left active duty, I was in the Navy, right? So I was active duty in the Navy for 4 years. And they're talking about different things, different rules, different, laws, I guess. And they would tell us about it. They said, the way that they taught me at the time, from what I remember, was what I enforced, because I was military police. They called it a master at arms, but, basically what I did could be described erroneously in their regard as law enforcement, because they said that what you enforce are the rules and regulations as per the Uniform Code of Military Justice and the Manual for Courts Martial. Those were the two documents that were our little Bibles. And just like most people's Bibles, we never I don't know anybody that actually opened the damn things and actually read any of it, but you get the general idea. Everybody's looking at somebody and they know that they're doing something wrong, so you tell them to cut it out, and then if they don't, then you throw them in handcuffs, and then you give them to somebody higher up the chain to decide whether or not they're actually doing something wrong. Sometimes it's pretty obvious, right? It's not like, oh, he's jaywalking on a Tuesday. That's the death penalty right there. No, I never ran into any situations like that. So anyway, they were telling us all this different stuff, and they're like, out of all of the different things that you can get wrong in the Navy, there's one that is it's got a damn near, it's very serious, is what they told us. It's very serious. It's like a 0 strikes rule. And I'm like, okay, so, what's that? What's this horrendous crime? And they said, hygiene. And I said, hygiene. And they said, hygiene. I said, what gives? Hygiene? Are you serious? Hygiene. And they're like, yeah, it's super serious. If somebody comes in and you say, your hair looks a little greasy, I'm your superior, I'm higher ranking than you, I want you to go shower, and once you come back, then you can keep working. Then you gotta go. You gotta do that. And he said, if somebody refuses that type of order, things get very, very serious, very, very quickly. And I'm like, what the hell is that? And it took me a long time to fully, shout out to Tim Ferriss, the author, for Work Week and everything, for teaching me about another book, a fiction book, Stranger in a Strange Land, I think it's called. But it took me a while to not just understand, but to fully grok this concept. Whenever I was in the military, there was a lot of things that I didn't really understand. One of the things that I didn't really understand was keep off the sergeant's grass. Now, of course, we didn't have sergeants in the Navy, so we didn't say keep off the sergeant's grass. But there'd be stuff like that. Apparently it's a pretty big deal to, throw a candy wrapper in the ocean if you're on a ship. And you think it's one candy wrapper and it's the entire ocean. It covers most of the Earth's surface. What the hell is the big deal? And the big deal is not the damn candy wrapper thrown off the ship into the ocean. The big deal is the 5,000 sailors that are on board one singular U.S. Navy aircraft carrier out of 11, and a strike group consisting of something stupid like 7, 13. I don't know. In some odd twist of fate, for whatever reason, the only time I ever went on a ship, whenever I was in the Navy, was to go buy a candy bar. I was temporarily assigned to a Korean Navy base because I was in South Korea, and I got tired of eating what they fed the rest of the sailors, the Korean sailors, and they were all conscripted to be there. So what they ate was not very high quality. Well, I wasn't conscripted to be there, damn it. I had disposable income. I went on the ship, went to what we call the Gidunk, which is, it's a lot of things, but it's where they keep the snacks at the very, very least, bare minimum. So, I went to the Gidunk and I got me some damn American candy bars. And then I had to restock. So anyway, so I've never been on the ship besides that one, going on there and then going right back off to grab a candy bar. But while I was stationed in South Korea, my whole job was to support ships and everything. Your ship's got to go out in the ocean and everything. There's seashore rotations, blah blah blah. Stuff. I went to boot camp, RTC, Great Lakes Recruit Training Command in Chicago, Illinois. Master at Arms training was held at Master at Arms A School, we called it, was held at Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas. Yes, if you're on an Air Force base, they do more than just one singular thing at every single base. It's not just burgers at your Burger King. They also have a bathroom in there. So yes, it was on Lackland Air Force Base. I understand that is also where Air Force Boot Camp is, but I promise you, just Google it. You'll see at a bare minimum in 2007. That's where I went for what we called A School. And then I went to South Korea for my first duty station. I went to Oklahoma, of all places, for my second and final duty station. That's where I served. But I only stepped on that ship once, so forgive me if I get some stuff wrong about ships. I just don't have that much experience with ships. Sorry. Anyway, so the problem with the whole thing is not one sailor throwing one piece of trash into the ocean. It's the 5,000 sailors on board throwing the trash in the ocean, and all the trash that rapidly accumulates, and the quickness that it gets traced back to the United States Navy, with it being American trash that's very clearly from a military base. You get protests could turn violent. You got all these other personnel. It's this big snowball effect. You see yourself as one little snowflake. You don't see the avalanche that you can cause. And that's where that phrase comes from. Keep off the sergeant's grass. Why the hell do I need to keep off the sergeant's grass? First off, it's not even the sergeant's grass. He doesn't own the grass. Why the hell does he care? Well, it's not you. It's being trampled by thousands and thousands of soldiers until there is no grass, until there's mud everywhere, until you're slipping and sliding in the mud, until the base has to hire more custodians and cleaners and everything, and it starts to gunk up your equipment and stuff like that. You're spending more hours, trying to clean out your gun and everything because there's mud all over the place. That's why I keep off the grass, the sergeant's grass. It's because, you see yourself as a snowflake. You see your actions as a snowflake. You don't see the avalanche that you may or may not cause. So the hygiene thing was the exact same reasoning. It was the exact same reasoning. It was so hyper important because if one person got sick on a Navy ship, and like I said, with an aircraft carrier, you've got a easy capacity of about 5,000 personnel on there. And sick doesn't care who you are. So, like, sure, like, let's say somebody that you might consider hyper unimportant, hyper unimpressive. Way back in the day, I don't know whether or not they still have this rate. We called it a rate whenever it was a job in the military, essentially in the Navy at a bare minimum, at least. We used to have this rate, and it was called storekeeper. Storekeeper was a rate. So every single person that's working at Walmart right now, as I speak, which I don't think there's too many people because it's 3:58 in the morning at the moment, but we used to have 24-hour Walmarts. I remembered a world without the internet. It was different. You would never understand. Anyway, so everybody that's working at Walmart, everybody's working at a 24-hour place and is behind the checkout counter, is doing a job that at least at some point in time was a military job. That's something that you could go to boot camp and then train for and everything. And then for whatever else, you're probably not going to get a 20-year retirement plan out of Walmart or something like that, but you will out of the military. And everybody, like, for one weird reason or another, everybody just assumes that the military is like 99% like hot action. Like it's a John Wick film. And it's so strange because they make that assumption and you cannot convince them otherwise, no matter what you do. It's how they feel in their heart. And then I'll like point out the nearest military base to where I currently am right now. And the nearest military base is Scott Air Force Base in the General Shiloh area of Illinois. And it's like, if you're going from like St. Louis, Missouri, towards Scott Air Force Base, like on 64 East? I don't know. I don't remember. But if you're going like from that direction to, the Scott Air Force Base direction, like one of the exits on that road is St. Clair Square Mall. You can go to Hot Topic, Sbarro's, etc., and go hang out with teenagers, whatever the hell you want. Buy some overpriced stuff, whatever the hell you want. You want it, they got it. And then like the next, if it's not the next exit, then it's like the exit. It's very, very close. There's Scott Air Force Base. You'd think if it was like 99% pure action, pure John Wick, 24/7 in the military, then you'd think that you would hear the guns going off whenever you're at St. Clair Square. No, not everybody in the military has silencers on their weapons, and they're also apparently not called silencers. I don't know. I never even seen one in real life. It's just not. You can go to Scott Air Force Base. You can just drive up to the gate and everything. They'll be like, "Hey, you don't have the right ID, so you're gonna have to turn around." And they'll turn you around and everything. You can look and see, that they don't have freaking suppressors in their weapons. Try not to bother these people, but it's not Area 51. Whip out binoculars, look for yourself. Jesus. It's just, you might get unlucky. No matter what, you might get unlucky. And your military career might be like primary action, but it's just, whenever you look at the statistics for the military, only 5% of the military at any point in time is engaged in combat. And those are old figures. All I know is that the entire Earth, hook, line, and sinker, has been trending towards a more and more peaceful existence for all of human history. So last time I looked up these figures is probably about 2015. So these are old figures. My guess is that it's even less of the United States military than 5% now that are engaged in combat at any point in time. And on top of all that, it's not like they put everybody in there. It's not like everybody gets a turn. Oh, we really got to get the cook out here. He's going to go great combat. But anyway, so whatever goes to hygiene in the Navy, Hygiene doesn't care who you are. Being a Navy SEAL, being a hyper important John Wick type of person, doesn't strengthen your damned immune system. Not from what I know about any sort of medical science 24/7. So, sure, you take the thing that you might consider to be the most useless job that anybody can do in the United States military. Whatever that is. I gave the example of storekeeper earlier, but I've never met one. So, and I don't know whether or not that even exists anymore. Whenever I was active duty, we had postal workers in the Navy, and now I believe they've been rolled in supply. They are no longer an entirely separate job. So I gave that example just to tell you that there are, just try to, let you know that there are jobs that you might consider useless in the military. But hell, as far as I know, since I've never actually met a storekeeper in my whole life in the Navy, as far as I know, that maybe there are jobs completely action-packed. I don't know. But whatever is the most useless job that you can possibly think of in the United States Navy, that person can get sick, spread the germs over to, John Wick if he took steroids or something down there in the special operations team. Suddenly, the plan to, to take out, super terrorist 1, 2, 3 or something, like suddenly it's on hold. It's, and then you get 5,000 people on the ship sick, but the ship, an aircraft carrier doesn't move by itself. It moves as part of that strike fleet, which again is like 7 or 8, maybe even more different ships. So they all have to stop, all because one, sack of human garbage decided not to take a damn shower. It's weird, but that's how serious it is. So anywho, try to even figure out where this train of thought of mine derailed, but my this whole thing, all of this chopping wood and whatnot, it's here. I took a fence. So like, my family counselor or my family therapist, he's a former Marine, and sometimes, in my experience, Marines will overestimate certain things, and they'll think that you can just yell and that will make things happen better. And I took offense because he said that essentially that I hadn't worked enough and I hadn't worked hard enough and stuff like that. I took offense to that, but I didn't want to just yell back. First and foremost, I just I took it in stride. I'm like, okay, I remembered who he was, as a former Marine, stuff like that. And I know former Marine, that's tougher than me, sure. That's automatically, that's not something that I did do, so it's very possible it's not something that I could do, right? So that's it. That's the full extent of it. But I did take offense. And in 2017, I started the process of becoming separated from my ex-wife, who is an active duty Navy sailor herself. So I began that process, and shortly after beginning that process, I had gotten out of the United States Navy active duty, and by doing so, I went ahead and I started using the post 9/11 GI Bill right away, and the post 9/11 GI Bill comes with a stipend. And I just figured that I could live under my means for that stipend. So as long as I, had bills that totaled up for less than that stipend, then that's fine. But the stipend is still far below what most people consider a living wage. But I decided to try it anyways. I decided to just try to be really frugal, and I would watch shows like Extreme Cheapskates and stuff like that, and I got better and better and better at it. And currently, my uncle has told me that whenever he used to live in this very same mobile home that I'm currently occupying, whenever he used to live in this very same home, he would spend about $500 a month on electricity. Now I don't know what I don't know what the circumstances were. According to my grandfather, he pays the electric bill here, but he doesn't have to because, I don't make any money. I'm a student. And so he doesn't have to. I could use a low income heating and energy assistance program. The only problem is that the low income heating and energy assistance program pays out a maximum of $1,300 a year, $1,300 per year, last time I checked. And my grandfather says during the summer months, I use about $100 a month worth of electricity out here. And in the winter months, I use about $200 a month. So if you try to say that's 50-50, then that's, 6 times 2. So it's like $1,200 for the winter months. And then for the 6, quote unquote summer months, warmer months, that's another $600. That's $1,800 a year. That's $500 that I got to pull out of my rear end somewhere to try to pay that bill. So I'm doing a lot. I'm doing a lot to try to lower those bills because the old man's not going to last forever, etc. But it is the way it is. And part of that is using the wood stove, which my uncle installed in here whenever the central heating in here stopped working. Another part of that is collapsing everything down to one room. I've got blankets covering the entrances and or exits of the kitchen, of the master bedroom. And this place wasn't occupied for about 15 years, and things came in here, raccoons and the like, and really did a lot of damage during those intervening years. There was no human occupation. And mobile homes in general, they don't have a lot in the way of insulation. Whenever it comes to a mobile home, they have a standard size. And with that standard size, of course, they're going to try, the companies that make these things are going to try to make it the maximum size because that's a selling point. Trying to sell somebody a home, so you're trying to sell them the biggest home possible, but it can only be so big or else it's no longer a mobile home. It can't be moved in the very same way that it's going to be moved. You want to deep dive into that? There's a Last Week Tonight episode, John Oliver, and he covers mobile homes. So if you want to deep dive into mobile homes, go ahead. But whenever it comes to that and they're trying to sell a large home, one of the things that people don't ask whenever it comes to buying a home, not very often, the unsavvy customer, the regular customer, won't ask about insulation. And a lot of times they won't bother with it. They'll get the bare minimum to be up to certain building inspection codes, and building inspection codes have changed fairly recently too. They've started forcing building companies who are building these homes to put more insulation in the building. So this is before those changes. But if you're going to put insulation onto a mobile home, are you going to put it on the inside or are you going to put it on the outside? Well, the vast majority of builders are going to put it on the inside. Therefore, they don't have to worry about this, that, or the other whenever it comes to trying to waterproof it and weatherproof it and this, that, and the other. But also, it's a mobile home. You can't make it any bigger than its maximum size. So that forces you to put the insulation on the inside, and every little bit of insulation that you put on the inside of this mobile home is going to lower the square footage of the occupying space for the inhabitant. That's the major selling point. you want to give the occupier the most possible space on that little sheet, that they're trying to buy this mobile home from. So I don't know if this is a good mobile home from that era or a bad mobile home from that area. It really doesn't matter. Mobile homes just really are not fit to last the length of time. Time and again, people will get like a 30-year loan on a mobile home, and it won't last that long. One way or another, it won't last that long. There's going to be more maintenance than a regular home. There's going to be more of this. There's going to be more of that. You're going to pay more on the opposite end, even if you think that it's not going to be that much on the front end, right? So there's just not that much insulation in here. So after my family therapist was telling me that I don't work hard enough, I'm not doing enough and everything. It's his opinion versus the opinion of all of my other medical providers. So I've got my primary care provider, I've got my psychiatrist, I've got usually I have about every 6 to 12 weeks or so, I'll graduate from another program at Veterans Affairs. So I did one for depression. I'm going to be going into one for bereavement here pretty soon. So I go into these different programs. I did one for anxiety. I did one for they called it interpersonal psychotherapy. So I'll do that, and of course I have the people who run that range from psychologists to social workers. So I've got their opinion and everything. So this is the opinion of just one guy, but it's a guy that I see consistently week after week after week. And the rest of these people, I don't see them that often. I don't I switch them out. So still, it bothers me. But instead of getting angry, let's just see if he has a point. That was the whole thing. 2017, I come home. Like I said, I got out of active duty in 2011, decided to just live very, very frugally, very underneath my means to just get the post 9/11 GI Bill stipend and try to live under that. That led to some hairy situations, like whenever I moved to South Korea in order to save a lot of money, because I used to be stationed there. I'm kind of comfortable with it. They used to call it first world living at a third world price, which is pretty offensive, but I cut my bills into about 1/8 of what they were in East Alton, Illinois, which is not the most expensive area of Illinois by very, very far. It's not the cheapest, but it's certainly not the most expensive. 1/8 of those bills. So I saved a lot of money, and I even got a raise. The stipend was attached to the school that I was attending, and I found a satellite campus of University of Maryland on one of the military bases in South Korea whenever I moved down there in 2013. And so it went by the zip code of the home campus, which was Maryland. So suddenly, instead of getting the rate for Illinois, which was towards the bottom, I was getting the rate for Maryland, which is not towards the top, but it's not the most inexpensive place in the United States either. So it was a difference. I don't remember the exact figures, but it was the difference of roughly $600 a month. So it's I went from $1,200-ish of a stipend in Illinois to $1,800-ish for a stipend, just because I was taking classes at University of Maryland, all because I found a satellite campus on a military base in South Korea. Whenever I moved back there as a civilian, or rather a veteran. So I did that, trying to stretch that money out as much as possible. But then the government shut down in 2013. Since I was relying entirely on my stipend, I was deported home. Me and my ex-wife, before we got married, we were deported back to the United States of America. It was a very strange time, and I really did not expect my government to fail me so hard. So now there's a lot of other things that I do to try to rely on myself rather than any sort of different programs and stuff like that, as much as I possibly can. So I'm tap dancing the best as fast as I can out here. However, um, yeah, like I said, I took offense to something that my family therapist said. Said like, oh, you probably have time out the wazoo, and you can do this, that, and the other. You can build like 5 log cabins and everything. I've already built one cabin. I built like a dome from ziptiedomes.com and everything. It's already much more than any other normal college student that I know is doing. And I might be wrong. There might be some Superman out there that's doing absolutely everything all at once, and I'm very happy for him. But I'm tapping as fast as I can myself. Um, so rather than so one of the things whenever in 2017, whenever I started to get separated from my wife, like I said, I was living with my stipend um, from the Post 9/11 GI Bill after I left active duty in 2011. And that post 9/11 GI Bill started to run out in 2014. And so I went ahead and I signed up for Army Senior Reserve Officer Training Corps, even though I had joined the Navy and was on my way to boot camp at 19 years old. I left 4 years later. From what I spoke to the senior Navy Reserve Officer Training Corps, like recruitment personnel, and they didn't want to let me in because they said I was too old. So that was another blow to my ego, right? So I was like, okay. So the Army said, well, you're not too old. Come on in. We'll feed you a stipend. And I was just like, hell yeah. So I went in there. So in 2017, I started the separation from my ex-wife. And I graduated with my bachelor's degree and was immediately denied a commission to the United States Army Reserve as an officer in the United States Army Reserve. I was denied that commission due to mental health purposes. And then I didn't know what to do from there. And, I'd been working so hard for so long to sort of, try to do an upgrade with my life, serve my country again, stuff like that, do something. And my life that I thought I was going to have with my ex-wife, it was gone as well. And I really didn't know what to do. I was at a loss. And I told my primary care provider through TRICARE, because again, I was separated, but I was still married to my ex-wife and active duty Navy sailor. I told her how I feel, and she said, things look really, really bad for you. And she says, promise me if you feel this way one more time, you'll go to the emergency room. And I said, I promise. And she said, you promise? I said, I promise. And she said, okay. And I don't know. I'm a guy that keeps his promises. I do what I'm told. And I felt that way once again. And I went to the emergency room. I told them about my situation, and I was locked in an insane asylum for a week. Yeah. That was it was a wild experience. I went to, I didn't want to deal with the VA healthcare system, the Veterans Affairs healthcare system, and try to get treatment elsewhere and all this other chronic crap. And I really didn't, there was much in the way of 24-hour facilities that I really knew about whenever it came to TRICARE and everything. I really didn't understand. I was familiar with the system. I was much more familiar with Veterans Affairs after so many years of using them. So I went to John Cochran VA Medical Hospital in St. Louis, Missouri, reported it to the, went to the emergency room, told them about my situation, and they were like, okay, we're gonna lock you in an insane asylum. That's what we're gonna do. But we don't have one here. So they put me in the back of an ambulance and gave me a ride to Jefferson Barracks Veterans Affairs Medical Center, and it's also in St. Louis, Missouri, but it's clear over on the other side of St. Louis, Missouri. A good, 20, maybe even 30-minute drive, depending on the traffic. And so, that's where I stayed for about a week. And I got many diagnoses, and I got many medications. And it was the first time that I'd heard of a lot of them and everything. I did not believe that they're going to make my situation any better. And they didn't. They didn't. They absolutely didn't. Things got worse and worse. I got, the divorce was finalized in 2020. February 2020, the divorce was finalized. I went from, living in apartments. I went from living in a duplex in San Diego, this gorgeous place, Paradise Hills, being married to the love of my life. I went from that life to living in a studio apartment in Alton, Illinois. And then once the divorce was finalized, I was in a camper on my grandfather's land with him footing the bill. And like that, of course, that makes me of course that makes me feel bad, right? But I felt better. I was given these antidepressants. I'd been to 5 different countries so far, primarily with the military, 5 different countries. And, I was put on these antidepressants. They're like, hey, these 2 little white pills are going to make everything better. And I'm like, horseshit, but I don't know. I have no idea what to do with my life. I'm just going to do what I'm told and hope for the best. And even though my situation got orders of magnitude worse, so much worse than I ever thought that they could even get worse, get that bad. Still, I felt better than I've ever felt before in my entire life. And one of the things that after I got out of the loony bin, that started a year of daily therapy. 5 days a week, I would be in therapy. I would go to Veterans Affairs for interpersonal psychotherapy, but I don't think that I finished it. So I took it again recently, and I finished it this time. And so that was one thing for Veterans Affairs. Another thing was a weekly meeting with the psychiatrist. One other thing was a weekly meeting with the VA MOVE program. They wanted to make sure that I was exercising and eating right, essentially not exacerbating my mental illnesses by being unhealthy physically. It didn't matter that I was fresh out of Army SROTC and I had passed every single physical requirement that they had. Still, they wanted to make sure, just in case, cover all their bases. So that was, thing number 3. I had a weekly meeting with a psychologist through TRICARE on Scott Air Force Base, and a weekly meeting with an abuse counselor, and at the Violence Prevention Center of Belleville, Illinois. Every week, that was my weekly schedule for well over a year. And as part of that, they said, don't get mad at somebody whenever you take offense to something like that. Don't get mad at somebody. Don't push back right away. Instead, take it in, make a note, and then let's just see if it's true. Let's perform the science. Let's be objective about this. Of course, at the time, I was blaming myself for a lot of things that people had told me at some point in time or another. And so they were disentangling these things one thing at a time. That was the process that I felt was most helpful for me. I don't know if it's going to be helpful for you, but that was the process that was most helpful for me. Eventually, semi-recently, my psychiatrist through Veterans Affairs asked me to read Driven to Distraction. It's a book by a doctor, a psychiatrist himself, who's also suffering from ADD, ADHD, and everything is about him. It's about his patients, and one of his patients was real down on himself, and he was blaming himself for a lot of things. And he was talking about it, and he said, what happened was, his parents, he'd be driving somewhere or something, and his dad was very stalwart, I don't know, proud man in a bad way. Too proud, that sort of thing. And so he'd be driving somewhere, and his dad would zone out or something, and he would say hey, Dad, you're about to miss your turn. And he would say, how dare you backseat drive? You are this years old. I am this years old. I'm a man. How dare you backseat drive? And he was wrong. Therefore, but if he stood silent and didn't tell his dad, that he's about to miss a turn, and they miss their turn, he would also get the blame. Now, way later on, I was informed that this is called a narcissistic double bind. I don't know if that's like, that's just what I know, the term and everything. Maybe that's not the official term, but that's the way that it was introduced to me as a concept. They called it the narcissistic double bind. And it took a while, so the psychiatrist in that book, Driven to Distraction, was slowly but surely walking his patient through everything. And he was like, okay, he was telling him scenarios. He was asking him questions about scenarios that was closer and closer to his experience, trying to sneak up on it rather than just like tackle it directly, right? Because, it's sort of like tracing the cord back to the wall to see if the damn thing is even plugged in at all, as the song goes. But, and so he was talking about this. He was trying to trace the cord back to the wall. So he's giving better and better and longer scenarios. And finally, the psychiatrist in question is talking to this patient. And he says, let's say, you drive every day and you don't drive with a kid in the car. So if you miss a turn, is it because there's no kid in the car? It was some sort of question like that. And the patient answered the problem. He didn't answer the question that was just asked of him. He said, it wasn't my fault. And so he made the connection all on his own. It's a beautiful little moment in the book, in the audio book. And that's sort of the same situation that I had been through way too many times, and they just tried to disentangle this thing. So this whole thing, first I'm going to do this recording, and I don't know how to do this, to put this recording over the top of footage. I don't know how to do that, but I do know that every time that I, chop up wood and throw it in the wood stove, I do know that every time that I do that, I'm usually like listening to a YouTube video or audiobook or something like that, going on in the background. And I don't want to not do that just for the sake of a video, I just don't. So I'm going to record this, and I'm going to try to put this audio over the top of a video. Therefore, you're not, listening to a bunch of other crap, at the same time, whenever I'm like listening to it, a YouTube video myself while I'm trying to chop wood. And I also don't know how I'm going to film this. I don't know how I'm going to film myself doing it. What I'd really like to do is give you the first person perspective. That's what I'd really like to do. I'd really like to, strap my phone to my face and so you see what I see. But the thing is, of course, I would just see a damn phone. I don't have any GoPros anywhere nearby, and I don't know where to get them, and I don't have the money for them. So I don't know how I'm going to film this. I'm going to try to film it in real time, put this recording on top of it. That way you get the full extent of what happens every time that I have to put wood in this wood stove. What happens to me every time that I do it? So that's what I'm going to try to do. And that way I can just give empirical proof. I'll show what time I start, what time I end. What does my kitchen thermometer say whenever I start? What does it say whenever it ends? I'll try to show these things in the video and just prove empirically. If this is a time vampire, this damn wood stove, how much is it sucking out of my day? And could my therapist do better? If he's saying, you could have had the cabin done a little while back, instead of saying yes, no, maybe, and starting to argue with him, let's just see. Let's just see if I really am working as hard as I possibly can. Whether or not I actually have some free time in my day, because I don't know. Maybe I am. Maybe he has a point. Maybe I am lazy. But if I show like a temperature, if I show at the start of the video my own breath in the morning as clouds of condensed air puffing in the air, the thermometer shows some ridiculously low temperature, and then I start to get out there so I can, get this thing, going with the fireplace and try to warm this place up. And then like it only burns for a certain amount of time, and then it almost instantly is cold again. Then I can just add that. I can say, look, it only burned for this time. It's cold again. That means I got to go again. So that means that I'm going to have to put more wood in that stove. So everything that you just saw, play it again if you want to. That's what I'm going to have to do every time. So improve it empirically. So with my railroad thoughts going all over the place, I'll try to clean up some stuff right here and now. With my mom, whenever I left active duty in 2011, she said, "Here's a house." I took the house, not knowing really what I was doing. I talked about my grandfather. If he passed on and everything and left us with the farm. I think just the property taxes on the farm is like $50,000, and none of us actually know hook, line, and sinker how to be a farmer. That's why, like the FSA or whatever, they require 3 years experience. They want the 3 years of experience of you apprenticing to somebody that has like a certificate or something of like, I'm the type of person that's going to teach you how to run a farm. They'll waive one if you have an agricultural degree. I don't have one. None of my family does. They'll waive another year for your military experience, but that last year is non-negotiable. You have to have that experience. I can't just be a grandchild or something like that. I actually have to have, like that year-long apprenticeship. In my case, it'd be 2 years unless I decide to get some sort of agricultural degree between now and then. Should this scenario ever even involve me in the first place? Obviously, I'm the first grandchild, but that still leaves 5 of my grandfather's kids. Standard operation is that if the old man kicks off without putting down a will, his asses get split into 5 pieces and then gets given to his kid. But that is the property tax, that like $50,000 property tax divided by 5. That's what each one of his kids are going to have to pay every year. So if they don't have an extra $10,000, $15,000 in their pockets every damn year already, then that might be a bill that they can't pay. And that's what happened with my with the house that my mom gave me. I couldn't. It was too expensive. I couldn't afford it. I declared bankruptcy in like early 2013. I went through a foreclosure in early 2013, and then I moved to South Korea in 2013, and I was deported from South Korea in late 2013. It was a wild year. And if I would have just lived like a regular college student, like moved on campus somewhere, ignored all of these, offers about potential houses and stuff like that, and I would have just like ate ramen noodles and lived on college campus like everybody else, if I would have just done that, I would have been fine. This whole frugal strategy would have been way more, that it would have been way the hell better, because that stipend was allowing me to take care of myself, a girlfriend at the time, roommates, guests, other family members that wanted to use my house for one purpose or the other, and all the bills and everything else. That stipend was paying for all of that. And yeah, I racked up a good $25,000 extra dollars on top of that, and that's what I declared bankruptcy in 2013. But I was doing a lot. So if I would have just been a regular college student, lived on campus and ate ramen noodles, then I would have been a hell of a lot better with my life. But I didn't know what I was doing. How do you say no to a house? Whenever my grandfather kicks off, like I said, that $50,000 of property tax or whatever the hell he's paying right now, I know it's up there. I'm close to that figure. I know I'm pretty close, that whole thing, like that like, how do you say no to that? I don't know even if my mom or her sisters and her one brother are even going to be able to say no to that. I don't know even know if that's even a thing. Maybe it is, and the government will like sell it at auction and give them whatever they make of it. I don't know, but like I said, how do you say no to a house? You know, but if I would have just not overestimated myself, then I would have had a hell of a lot better time getting through college and everything. I wouldn't have had such a hard time to get my bachelor's degree. It wouldn't have taken until 2017 to get my bachelor's degree. I would have been able to do things, but it's done, it's dusted, it's over with. I just got to move on with my life. I got to do what I can. And after I was removed and I didn't, I was denied that commission following my time in Army SROTC, despite doing everything that I was supposed to and whatnot, despite them having no evidence of any sort of mental instabilities or anything at the time that they declared that was the reason that they were not going to commission me into the United States Army Reserves as an officer, even though all of that did take place. Um, you know, like I said, it was a pretty good guess, right? Like a week later, I was in the insane asylum. Really good guess. 10 out of 10 on their part. And I'm not mad at them because, again, those two little pills, those two little antidepressant pills have made me feel a hell of a lot better in my life, even though it's, objectively so many orders of magnitude worse than whenever I was prescribed those pills. I still feel a hell of a lot better than I ever have before in my entire life. So I wouldn't have it any other way. If I could have begged and pleaded and everything and changed my path in a way where the Army would have given me that damn job, it's 1 week and a month, 2 weeks a year. It's not life changing. What has been life changing? Getting, treatment for my condition. According to the Dr. Daniel Amen clinics, mental illnesses show up on a SPECT scan. So if you think that a broken arm is a broken arm, even though you can't see it on the outside, and you have to look at an x-ray, then that means vis-a-vis that you agree that a mental illness is also a physical illness. So not getting treated for a mental illness is exactly like attempting to walk through life on a broken leg without a cast. It's not fun. I wouldn't have it any other way. My life is so much better than it's ever been. That I feel so much better. I feel so much better than I ever have before in all of my days on Earth. I'm so much grateful for the little that I have. But whenever it comes to cats, I had with my mom giving me that house in East Alton, and I'm not able to pay for it, and I went bankruptcy foreclosure in 2013. With all that, I also inherited, her old cat. I don't know why she didn't want it. We never discussed it, but she left the house and she left the cat. And so I was like, all right, I'll take a cat. And he's been a wonderful companion ever since then. But he was very lonely. That's the way I interpreted his behavior, because he was constantly like staring at, stray cats out the window. So I asked around. My cousin, one of her friends, she found a cat, and that was Bunny. And Bunny gave us a good 10 plus years of amazing companionship, but she was sick all the damn time. And because she was sick all the damn time, I tried to feed her the absolute best I possibly could at all points in time. She had like a rotating, diet of wet food. It was like a different flavor every day. If she would get sick, I would just buy more expensive wet food, and then hope that I could naturally, make her better. And sometimes it would work. A lot of times it wouldn't, and I would have to, send her back to the vet anyways. She had bobcat blood. Apparently that's bad, and it messes up immune system, this, that, and the other. And that's why she's no longer with us. Whenever it came down to it, I eventually, took her to the vet. They tried to fix one thing. They thought everything was going good, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, I think they said it was like the feline version of COVID or something came out with the chair and got her whenever she wasn't paying attention. And there was nothing that they could have done about it. They didn't detect it until it was too late. Maybe they didn't have the equipment to this, that, and the other. I don't know. But, they said sorry. And gave me like a $600 bill. And my grandfather, bless his heart, he paid that as well. For the most part, I paid about 150 of it. He paid like the rest of it. But I'm very grateful for that. And I got to bury her out here on my grandfather's land. But that's why fancy food. That's why fancy, expensive food. And my middle aunt asked me to watch her 2 cats. I was like, fine, that's fine. And they're here. They're a joy as well. But my middle aunt also gave me this big fat, thing of cat food, and they would eat it until they noticed that my cat was eating the fancy food, and then they would walk past their food that my middle aunt was feeding him, and they would eat my cat's food, and he was not very happy about that. And so now I can't even buy the food that my middle aunt gave me to feed her cats because they won't eat it. They want his fancy food that's super expensive and everything. Blue Wilderness, only the chicken flavor. They don't eat. They won't eat the salmon flavor. I don't know why, but that's the whole situation with them. Like I said, I don't mind at all. They're a joy. They're a joy to be around. But yeah, that's that, and that's one last thing about all this is that this isn't a big thing for you to look at and like watch the video and everything and be like, oh my goodness, this person spends X amount of time every day just trying to make his mobile home warm. Isn't that so sad? Shouldn't I feel sorry about him? Donate to my Patreon. That's not what this is, and I don't have a Patreon. Because you also have to realize so many different things all at once. The vast majority of the population of Earth are living in situations where they don't have much in the way of insulation. It's a relatively new concept to begin with, insulation is. And every single time that you see one of those YouTubers that put together a log cabin or something like that, and then they'll say something absolutely mouth-breathingly stupid, like, a log cabin is naturally warm in the winter and naturally cold in the summer. Just look up the R value of the construction materials used. Log, okay, that's wood. Okay, logs are about this thick. Okay, and what else is he using? Oh, he's using chinking and daubing, and he's using mud. What's the R value of mud? Not that much. And now you got your answer. Okay, so every single time that you see somebody on YouTube and they throw together this thing that looks really neat and they do it super lickety split, and they're like, look, I built a cabin out of nowhere, with nothing but junk and whatever. I was just lying around. Look at me. Just know that it doesn't have any insulation. So everything that you're seeing on this video that I'm having to do, if they lived there in this sort of environment, I'm living in southwesternish Illinois. So, a good 20-minute drive from St. Louis, Missouri. So there are colder places in the world, obviously. So any sort of thing like that, if they're in a worse situation weather-wise, then that's what they're doing. And it goes both ways. Insulation goes both ways. It helps you keep your hot things hot, and your cold things cold. So you have a get out of jail free card if you're down there in like Arizona or something like that either. You can't go someplace warm and then expect not to sweat to death in one of these structures that you see somebody build in the better part of an afternoon on YouTube. You can look at it, you can see it, you can be really impressed, but just know that in this video, this is objectively what's happening. This is the type of thing that they're going to go through, and they're going to go through something that's so much worse because they don't even have the type of insulation that my uncle has in his old mobile home that I'm currently occupying. All right. So just know that, so whenever somebody sends you a video and says, just do this, if you're not doing this, then you're lazy. Tell them to, go take a hike because that's stupid. One of the things that I always wanted to do is, take some paint or a sign or something like that and go into my cabin that I built and, put up a sign and have the cabin have a name. And the name of the cabin would be, where's your cabin? Because time and again, that's what people do. They're like, oh, well, if this is how easy it is to not be in poverty, then obviously everybody in poverty is a bunch of lazy douchebags. And then you're just like, all right, then, well, where's your cabin there? So this is the objective reality. This is what you're going to go through and stuff. So that's what I want to, I want to make that absolutely clear. I want to show you the absolute truth. I don't want to, I want to do that, scientifically and everything. Also, while investigating something that I personally took offense to in my own life, and let's see if it's objectively true or not. Let's see if my family counselor has a point, because right now it's getting pretty chilly. I can see that there's red stuff, in some glowing embers the um, in the wood stove right now, but it's getting pretty chilly already. Um, and I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. And I don't think I have the wherewithal to go and chop up even more wood before I go to bed. I'm probably just going to crawl under the blankets and hope for the best. Um, but yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So just know that, and also know that although insulation is expensive, it's worth its weight in gold, obviously, because the more insulation that you have, the less of this kind of crap that you're going to have to do. Um, you get one of those things, you slap together a log cabin in the bed of power in the afternoon. I'm real proud of you. However, you're spending all damn day doing nothing but chopping damn wood all the damn time. So good luck with that. Um, that initial investment of insulation, it's worth its weight in gold. Right? It'll pay for itself damn near 100% of the time. Money back guarantee, scientifically proven. So good luck out there. Don't be what they used to call penny wise and pound foolish. To be look at the full cost of a situation and be like, okay, I'm not going to save pennies by making a house lickety split that's got horse shit for insulation in it, and then spend like the rest of my life just day after day after day doing nothing but chopping wood whenever I could be earning money because a damn the insulation is such and such cost, and I could have just earned that at Mickey D's, in a couple of weeks instead of spending the rest of my life with overuse injuries sitting there chopping wood. So again, don't feel sorry for me. Just know that this is the objective truth out there for the vast majority of the human population. There are far more human beings like you and I in developing countries than there are in what they call developed countries, like like myself, born and raised in the United States of America. So what I'm doing here, the people in those developing countries likely have it significantly orders of magnitude worse. They don't even they I don't know how expensive this wood stove was whenever my grandfather, whenever my uncle got it. It's already, you're not supposed to put a wood stove in a mobile home, but he wasn't planning on moving it, so it's fine. You can put them anywhere, just be careful. There's even tent stoves, and you can actually put a stove in a tent as long as it's a tent for a tent stove. Be very, don't try to be penny wise and pound foolish. Oh, I'm just going to buy a $10 tent from Wally World or something, and then I'm just put a wood stove in it. Don't do that. Set the whole thing on fire. That'll be burning polyester and plastic. It's not going to taste. It's not going to be very good on your skin and whatnot if you survive the experience. Don't be penny wise and pound foolish. A penny, that's like an American term. It's 1 cent. A pound is more like a British sterling pound. That's what the thing is from. I don't know if they have pennies over in Britain. I don't know. I've never been. Anyhow, so like I said, just yes, this might be rough to you if you're not used to this sort of lifestyle. Just know that the vast majority of the human population is. So give them a little bit more leeway. Don't just say like, hey, I saw a YouTuber put together a log cabin in a couple of hours. That means that every single human being that isn't able to do this is a lazy, stupid idiot and everything. And so poverty is just full of people that are lazy. It's not that they're full of people that are in some way or shape or form destitute or have actual issues and problems that are unsolvable. And at the end of the day, where's your cabin? This type of stuff, building a fire to stay warm and stuff like that, you can just do that in a campsite. Take an afternoon, take a weekend off, go out into the wilderness with a tent, see how you fare. All right, where's your cabin? Give it a shot and test your hypothesis. See if you're right about this. Sometimes you might be. Most of the time, the act of compassion is likely to be the right one. Just give people a little bit more leeway, a little bit more leash and everything. And know that just because you might not, you might see this and be like, oh, that poor guy, I can't believe he's doing this, that, and the other, and everything. Other people have it way worse. Okay? So this isn't a cry for help or a plea or anything. I don't have an Amazon or a wish list. I don't have a Patreon or anything. There's no donate button. This is just what I do to stay warm. And like I said, I'm fiddling around with the insulation thing. I can't afford the upfront cost. So I'm getting real creative and I'm trying to do stuff. So far, so bad, but trial and error, right? Yeah, I could build something like the YouTubers in the afternoon. It's just, it'll probably be worse off than it is right now. Because mobile home manufacturers, they know how to make a damn mobile home. I don't. Therefore, this is probably better than something I could slap together myself. But I'm trying. Like I said, I got the cabin out there. It needs to be insulated. And then I'll have to retrofit some sort of wood stove in there, and hopefully that will make matters better. I also built a dome from Zip Tie Domes, thinking that it was going to be easier to insulate. Spoiler, it wasn't. Not for me, at least. Maybe they just didn't, build it, stupid proof enough. I haven't seen anybody with a well insulated zip tie dome yet, so I don't have an answer for that hypothesis yet. Am I too stupid to build the dome and insulated? I don't know. I haven't seen any that are insulated. Or is it just hard to insulate? I don't know, but I'm trying different things and everything. I'm trying to improve my situation. I'm doing the best as I can, and this is precisely how much time it takes. This is it. It's getting cold. Let me look at the. I read off the. the kitchen thermometer earlier, so I'll end this with another read for the kitchen thermometer, or the kitchen thermometer, whatever. A Taylor kitchen thermometer. I'm pretty sure I got it from Walmart. Let me just look. What's it say? Over here, and again, about 2 arms lengths away from the wood stove, it is saying it's 42 degrees Fahrenheit and dropping. 41. Try to see where it's gonna go. And like I said, I'll show these sorts of things on video. Therefore, you know that I'm not just like sticking it in a bucket of ice and saying, "Look, cold." But yeah, it's getting down here. 37.9, 38.1. Somewhere around there. Goes all over the place. 38.1. That means that, remember, we're working on Fahrenheit, and I know that us Americans, we got a wacky system. I'm not arguing with that. I don't like it either. But yeah, 32 degrees Fahrenheit is the freezing temperature of water, right? 0 degrees Celsius is the freezing temperature of, water. But we don't use that system. So 32 degrees Fahrenheit, 2 arms lengths away from the wood stove. And, again, that's where I've been staying this whole time. So I'm 6 degrees away from freezing, 2 arms lengths away from the wood stove. Yeah. And so, like I said, it's time to reload the wood stove. But if I do that, it's only going to last another, look at it, hour and a half. And it's going to take me a good, like, whatever, however long on the video it takes for me to do all this. So, like, I don't know, 45 minutes in order for me to get like an hour and a half of heat. And it's going to make me, it's going to make this place warm, probably too warm to sleep. I'm going to have to wait until it gets to the right temperature anyway. So, like I said, I'm probably just going to crawl under the covers, put more layers on, and then hope for the best. If it gets too cold, it'll wake me up, and I'll have to feed the stove no matter what I want to do. It'll just be what I have to do. But until the stove forces me, I'm going to try to do what I want to do. So, eat this damn salad and these 6 eggs, and try to go to bed. All right. Talk to you later.